guys, welcome to the Vine Outdoors. Today is all about shed hunting. Today is Shed Hunting 101 and I am super excited for this video. Now, you may be wondering, why is it green here? It's not shed season. It doesn't look like shed season. Everything's green. Yes, it's mid-April here in North Carolina. I could take this shed that I found, I throw it in, it disappears in the ferns. I would never find it if I was walking through the woods. I just came off of a really exciting shed hunting season, and I want to share my tips and my experiences with you and all the things that I've learned hiking through the woods this spring. So, just as a preference, most of these tips are going to apply primarily to the Southeast because that's where I live, and I can't tell you how to find sheds in California, Nevada, Michigan, or Iowa because I live in North Carolina. So most of these tips are going to apply primarily to shed hunting in the Southeast, but nevertheless, I think that you will find this video helpful no matter where you live. Okay guys, so before we begin, first we need to talk about gear for shed antler hunting. This is a crucial part of shed antler hunting. You're gonna want to know what you wanna bring in the woods when you're looking for antlers, and if you bring the wrong gear, you are going to be sorely disappointed and it will ruin your shed antler hunting trips. The first thing that you want for shed antler hunting is something to store your gear in, whether that be a camelback or my preference is a vest. Or you can probably, maybe some people use a little fanny pack, although I think those are too space constricting. I think they don't have enough space. However, a camelback is good because then you have the option of storing your water in your backpack. I use a vest and a camelback. So camelback for storing water, sheds that I find, and other big necessities, and a vest for smaller things. The vest is perfect. It has little pockets that you can put your pocket knives, like a Swiss Army knife or something, and you could put all sorts of different random stuff. Mace, if you bring mace, paracord or bungee straps or whatever, especially if you're like hanging trail cameras or something while you're shed antler hunting, you can pop a trail camera in here or whatever. So these vests are invaluable for shed antler hunting, and I highly recommend something like this. And in addition to the vest, you're gonna want some binoculars. So, it really doesn't matter. Any binoculars will do, or most binoculars, but the reason why binoculars are so important for shed antler hunting is because if you're shed antler hunting and you see a stick or a rock or a leaf or something that looks like a shed, and it's like, say it's like 100 yards out or 60 yards out, and you're like, I think that might be a tine or something. But you don't want to walk all the way over there to confirm. It'll save you a lot of walking to have binoculars, so then you can look and you can be like, oh, that's just a stick. So binoculars are super important for shed antler hunting. In addition to binoculars, you're gonna want some sort of app on your phone, such as HuntStand or Onyx or something like that has mapping. You're gonna want topo maps and satellite imagery at least. That'll help you navigate your way through the woods and find those areas that are more likely to contain sheds. However, this is no substitute for navigation like GPS and compass. You're gonna want probably both of them. At least that's what I do. Because you don't want to find yourself lost, and if your phone runs out of batteries or you stop getting cell reception and you're stuck without your mapping and your GPS runs out of batteries and you don't have a compass, then you're in trouble. So I would recommend bringing at least a compass and your app of choice on your phone for navigation. A GPS is also a good idea. Now, in addition to these three necessities, you're also going to want a good pair of hiking boots. Depending on where you're shed antler hunting, this could vary. Sometimes I just use straight hiking boots for walking through the woods. If there's not a whole lot of underbrush, sometimes I even use tennis shoes. Additionally, some of the areas that I shed hunt that have lots of snakes require snake boots. So I have a pair of snake boots, and snake boots are also good, not only for just snakes, but they're also good if there's lots of thorns or something that would tear through your pants and put scratches in you that hurt. But snake boots they keep off some of those thorns down near your feet better too. If you're hunting really swampy areas, like I sometimes do, if you're shed hunting in swamps, then you're gonna want a good pair of mucks, some sort of muck boots rubber boots of some sort that won't let you get mud over your boots. But as always, make sure you have moleskin or Band-Aids or something that you can use if you get blisters, because that happens to me all the time, and it could be really uncomfortable if you don't have some sort of way to cushion the back of your heel. Okay guys, so you might be wondering, what is the best thing that you can do before you're actually in the woods to get ready and to prepare for shed antler hunting. So let's say it's January, or actually like some deer start shedding in January. So let's say it's December and you're wrapping up deer season and you're getting excited for shed antler season, but you're like, I don't know what to do because it's not shed antler season yet. However, there are two things that you're going to want to do to prepare for shed antler season, and the first is online scouting, and we'll talk about that later. But you can identify hot spots for shed antler hunting season, and you can find where the deer are going to drop their antlers before they even drop their antlers. Additionally, practice. Practice makes perfect, and you might not have known this, but you can practice shed antler hunting. So if you have a few old antlers, like a shed or just antlers that you've collected somehow, or you can just go on eBay and buy an antler or two for real cheap, and you take them and you go out in the woods, and you just take them and you chuck them over your back. Or chuck them in front of you. You just close your eyes and throw them ahead, and then you practice spotting them, and that'll help you. That'll pay dividends later. It'll help train your shed eye, and you'll be able to easily decipher when you're just sweeping through the forests. You'll be able to tell between a stick and an antler with much more ease. Okay, guys. So now we've talked all about gear, and we've talked about the things that you should do before you're shed antler hunting, but let's say now you're looking for a spot to go shed antler hunting. You're like, where should I go shed antler hunting this year? And here's what you need to know. So depending on what your goals are, then where you're going to shed antler hunting is going to be different. So let's say if you're trying to do shed antler hunting in conjunction with winter scouting and you're hoping to be able to hunt this place next year, then you're not going to want to go shed antler hunting on some place you cannot hunt. However, if you're just shed antler hunting to rack up as many antlers as possible, you're going to want to go to the places, well, that have the most deer possible, or the most bucks to be specific, because does don't shed their antlers, because they don't have antlers. So one of the best resources for finding places to shed antler hunt is your local Fish and Game website, or whatever it's called. So I live in North Carolina, so it would be ncwildlife.gov for me. And this website, if you go to the right spot, you can find a deer density map along with hundreds of invaluable resources that you're going to want to look at that are very, very, very amazing resources that you can use both in your hunting, your shed antler hunting, and a lot of other things. However, one resource that I want to talk about that my state puts out, and your state may be the same way, I don't know, but there's a deer density map that the North Carolina Wildlife program puts out, and it essentially has all the counties in North Carolina, and it splits it down farther into different subsections in each county, and it shows essentially how many deer there are per square mile. So if you're looking to shed antler hunt and you're like, where should I go? Should I go over here to this county 2.5 hours northwest of me, or should I go down to this game land that's over here to the east of me? And you can pull up the map and you can immediately see, well, this area has a deer density of 40 deer per square mile. This place has only 15 deer per square mile, and then it's a really easy choice because, I mean, who's going to go shed antler hunt the area that has half the amount of deer? Okay, so after you have found the spots with the highest deer densities, you're going to want to narrow down your search even farther. So then you're going to start looking specifically at national forests and game lands, or WMAs, or whatever your state, whatever their hunting land is, possibly even military reservations. Now, if you're hunting private land, then I guess this is already solved for you because you know where you're shed antler hunting. But if you're hunting public land, listen up, because I'm going to give you some insight into how to narrow down your search and find the perfect spot to shed antler hunt. So the first thing you're going to look at, you want to shed antler hunt the area with the most herbaceous forbs. This comes in variety: agriculture, clear cuts, burn units, anywhere that the forest, the overstory is cleared out, allowing the sunlight to come in and to produce more of an understory than an overstory. These spots are going to have much, 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 much higher deer densities than surrounding areas. If you're looking at a pine plantation with endless pines stretching for miles and nothing else, or you're in the big woods where there's just oak trees and oak ridges and oak points and oak saddles and oak everything and hickory stuff and just hardwoods, then you're going to have a lot less success than if you're hunting areas with more diversity and more herbaceous forbs, because these areas just naturally can support a higher deer population. However, if you are a big woods deer shed antler hunter, do not despair, because there are deer sheds that can be found in the big woods, because there are deer there. And in fact, actually, I found a tremendous 8-point set in the big woods in the Uwharrie National Forest last shed season, actually. a really big match set, and it was out in the middle of nowhere, about like 1.5 miles from the nearest road, just in oaks. There was nothing but hardwoods there, and there was no clear cuts, no agriculture, no roads, no nothing around. Just kind of out smack in the middle of the national forest. So do not despair if you're a big woods hunter. There are shed antlers to be found there as well. Now, I do want to offer a special recommendation, I guess, for burn units. So burn units do two things. First of all, they promote herbaceous forbs, which attract deer. As you probably know, but if you didn't know, herbaceous forbs are what the deer eat. They like the tender parts of young plants. They're naturally browsers, so this is what they tend to gravitate to, and this is what they eat. But anyways, that was kind of a tangent. But burn units, they burn out the underbrush and promote tender herbaceous forbs, sorry guys, to sprout out of the ground, which the deer will hammer. So first of all, they attract deer. Second of all, burn units are special because when they've been recently burned, they expose shed antlers because they take away all of the underbrush for a time. It quickly comes back, but for the time, everything's bare and you can see everything because shed antlers stick out like sore thumbs in burn units. So I highly suggest taking a look at burn units if your state has some of those near you. Okay guys, so now hopefully you've eliminated your search area down to a couple hundred acres and you're excited to go shed antler hunting. So now, what I'm going to tell you now is how you're going to go about finding the shed antlers that are on your chosen shed antler hunting spot. So, this is the name of the game. I'm going to tell you the biggest strategy for shed antler hunting right now. So the biggest strategy is your goal is to cover ground fast and eliminate the bad areas. And then when you find the good areas, you're going to slow way down. And you're going to slow down drastically, and you're going to cover those small areas that have bachelor groups of bucks, the prime ground. You're going to cover that slowly and meticulously. Now, a few words of advice. When you're covering ground fast, you don't just want to be just strutting through the woods, just running around, just kind of looking around here and there for an antler. You want to be paying enough attention that you can recognize when you are in a good spot that holds a bachelor group of bucks, and you also want to be constantly on an edge, and I can't stress this enough. You want to be on an edge. So you've probably heard that deer are creatures of edges. They naturally follow an edge, and it's kind of hard to see, but I'm actually on an edge right now as we film this. But edges take on a variety of forms, and you just want to find an edge and stick to it when you're cruising through ground. So I'll tell you first of all my favorite edge. My favorite type of edge is a creek bottom, river bottom, whatever you want to call it. Some of these have like a big hardwood bottomland hardwoods, and you'll want to find either an edge of the bottomland hardwoods or the edge of the creek, the edge of the river. Always, 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 if you're in deer territory and there's a river, there's gonna be trails running parallel to the river on both sides. And these trails are excellent edges, and they're just great starting points. If you just find a chunk of land that you want to search and you see that there's a river bottom cutting right through the middle, then you're gonna want to go to that river bottom and cruise up and down it until you find a spot that has a bachelor group of bucks. Now, other edges that you can follow that maybe, a lot of times they can be just as good as river bottoms, if not better. Clear-cut edges are potential edges you can follow, although you can't follow them all that long because otherwise you'll just go in a big circle and then another circle and then another circle. But clear-cut edges can be good. Also in pine land, the transitions between pine flats, longleaf pine or whatever, and the transition between that and swampier areas, those edges can be really good. If you're in mountainous or just steeper rolling terrain, then any sort of transition, terrain break in the mountains, the terrain, such as like the edge of a bench or where super steep comes with more flat ground, these places will concentrate deer, and they're a great edge that you can walk through until you find the good spots. Now, when you find the good spots, like I said, you're going to want to slow down. You're going to want to look at potential bedding areas. You're going to want to look at food sources, and maybe you might want to consider looking at trails. Trails are usually not as productive, but they still have lots to offer. And a lot of times in the southeast, there's so many different little trails that they're not even worth searching because they don't follow. It's not like in some areas where the deer will go from bed to feed to feed to bed. to bed to feed to bed on the same trail every single night. In the southeast, the way it works is deer seem to bed in a different area each night. They seem to go to different food sources each night, and they just use trails everywhere. So, but still, there are concentrated areas that hold bachelor groups of bucks, and you're going to want to search these areas. Now, a problem I've encountered when I am searching for bachelor groups of bucks is it's often hard to tell between a doe group range and the range of a bachelor group of bucks. And there's really not a great way to tell. If there's lots of rubs in the area, it's a higher indication that it could be bucks, but those rubs could have just been made by bucks passing through in the rut that were investigating the doe bedding area, so they're not a surefire way to tell. Additionally, if you see does, if you spook does, then you know it's a doe bedding area or the home range of some does, whereas if you spook bucks, you know that you're in buck territory. However, it's hard to tell bucks from does when they don't have antlers. The only really reliable way to tell is if you're looking at their head really closely, you'll see the pedicles. That's why, like I said earlier, you bring a pair of binoculars. One of the reasons. You can look at the deer that you spook, and if they have pedicels, then, or just like small nubs or whatever on their head, then you'll know it's a buck. And you'll know you're in the right spot. Okay guys, now another word of caution. When you're going through the shed antler woods, you'll often find deadheads. So actually, it's not uncommon for me to find 15 to 20 deadheads in a single day of shed antler hunting. Of course, most of these deadheads will be does, bucks with their antlers sawed off that hunters have shot and, you know, taken the antlers and that type of thing. But occasionally you'll find a buck deadhead. And these buck deadheads are something that you'll usually want to take home. However, one word of caution, a lot of states it's illegal to take home a deadhead unless you have a salvage tag. So make sure to check in with your state regulations, and if you find some deadhead beauty that you want to take home, then you might have to get a salvage tag or you will be committing a crime. A lot of the deadheads I find are kind of in bad condition, like this one, so sometimes the squirrels beat me. This one was probably like 3 years old when I found it. It was at one point 8-pointer, it looks like, but it's more like a maybe 6-pointer, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's had the end of both main beams and some points and part of the brow tines chewed completely off. On a better note, some of the better deadheads that are fresher and bigger can be really trophy finds, and if you're anything like me, it's really, really, really hard and painful to leave a deadhead like this in the woods, so definitely check in with your state, see what your regulations are, and if you can, bring them back.